Hello learners, today's discourse is on government relations management, role and scope of public relations. When I'm talking about the government, obviously I have various kinds of governments in view, but we would look at the democratic governments which are elected by the people through a process of election. Government PR and publicity are crucial, but at the very same time very demanding. Why does the government need public relations? It's obvious that a government which has been elected by the people for a fixed period of time, they have to go back to those people. There are opposition parties. There could be two, party government, as in America. It can be multi-party democracy, as in India, where there could be dozens of political parties, and the major parties could be 3 to 4, 5. So it's said in the British context that an opposition is the government in waiting. So obviously the opposition party which has lost the election is doing all strategies, tactics and programs that next time they are able to form the government. So keeping that in view, the multiplicity of issues, the government of the day, which is in a democracy, the political party which won the elections, has to inform the people at large about its policies, programs and futuristic actions. Just to go a step before that, whenever there's an election, you know that every party shares its manifesto. What is the manifesto? We'll talk about it more in my next discourse on political public relations. But the manifesto are the promises given by the party contesting election that in case we are elected, we shall do the following 1, 2, 3, 4. So obviously when they form the government, so there's an expectation from the people at large that all those promises which were made, are you fulfilling those or not? So when the next time when they go to the election, so there's a report card, what was promised and what was given or not given. I'm sure when you're watching media these days, or when there are elections in various states, so these questions are very formidable and are asked and discussed at the various media platforms. But in times of disasters, the quantum of communication increases manifold. Crisis can come anytime. It can be crisis, a natural disaster. It can be in any industry. It can even be crisis of conscience, There are lots of, case studies which tell you about, when somebody is forming a government, somebody is jumping floor, going to the other, the IRM, the Gayaram, other things. So these are also crises which government or the oppositions have to handle continuously by going back to their constituencies or fighting their, battles within the parliament and within the state assemblies. I'm sure you have watched those on the media. And you also know there are channels which are dedicated to the parliament, the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, which continuously tell the people, or rather it's a live coverage of the parliament, and people can see what kind of issues are being taken, what the representatives are doing it, how well they are doing it. So next time when those representatives contest election, the people already know their report card. So it's very important that a continuous flow of communication has to be there. The government is generally under scanner or watched by many stakeholders, news media called the watchdog being the foremost. Though government and media are two different entities, but the media is said called the fourth estate in a democracy. What are the three other estates? The executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. And the fourth estate is that status is given to the media in its watchdog function. Because when the three function, there has to be an independent interpreter of what is happening, so that it is expected of the news media to give, without fear or favor, information to the people at large about the functioning of these three estates. There are proactive and reactive public relations which are pursued by the government of whether it's a state or central government. The government proactively disseminates information on various issues and welfare measures. In case of a controversy or crisis, it reacts to clarify or put its perspective, also known as response or reactive PR. Just to repeat, that proactive PR is proactive, as the name suggests, when the government is telling the people at large what all schemes does it have. And sometimes even if there's no scheme, for example, you've seen in times of COVID, it was giving advisory to the people that they have to do 1, 2, 3, whatever. Wearing a mask became a necessity, became important, and cleaning of your hands, keeping a social distance, and lot of it was not just through media per se. Lot of paid media was used. The advertising space was used. These days, I'm watching a lot of ads by the Delhi Chief Minister exhorting people to go for their COVID, injection, and he's telling that he already had the injection despite being a diabetic, and his parents who are much older, they also had it. So why does he do that? He's doing it because he said that when I can do it, anybody else can do it. Just to give that kind of confidence to the people. When Prime Minister of India was given the COVID injection, so the media covered that it was given. When the President was given the injection, media covered it. The whole idea is that when it is safe for us, we expect it to be safe for you also. So that really motivates people to take action. But when the reactive public relations, due to any controversy or a crisis which the government finds itself in, you find a number of things happening in Maharashtra these days and elsewhere, when there's a reaction from the government or the opposition parties on that issue of crisis. So that proactive PR and reactive PR go hand in hand, and you find almost on everyday basis through the media how government are handling their own public relations. But ultimately, you have to realize that public relation is put to use basically to maintain a certain image. You can maintain an image only based on the experience people have, but in order that the image does not get sullied, there has to be a continuous flow of communication from the government side to its various stakeholders. Democracy and public opinion are intertwined. In a democracy, public opinion is of immense value. In fact, it is said that public opinion is the determinator of whether the governments will last or will they perish. And public opinion is not necessarily based on reason. It can be based on emotion, it can be based on a wrong, kind of a perception which is going around. It can be handiwork of the adversaries who change the opinion. So that is why it's very important for the people who are in the government to continuously keep a watch on public opinion. In fact, it is said that public opinion is the barometer in a democracy. Every government has its own system of feedback. Many years ago, it is said that in America and in the UK and also probably in India also, whatever the media writes, there's a way of tracking media, and the government is informed on day-to-day basis what is being written in the media. Though media is not the best reflector of public opinion, but at least it is better, it's quick also. Public opinion can be gauged through what people write on the social media. Public can be gauged through the kind of rallies people may have, the agitations people may have. They might have given their representations to the government. It's a continuous process. So the government has to keep a watch and an eye on the public opinion through various media through which it comes. For an interface with the electorate and people at large, the government uses both public relations and paid publicity. When I say public relations, it is generally believed that public relations is a third-party endorsement. You are not saying it. You are telling the media, and media is reflecting on your behalf based on whether they believe it or not. And paid publicity is when you buy space or time in TV or radio or newspapers to say what you want to say. I just spoke to you about that COVID campaign, injection campaign by the Delhi Chief Minister. So it is a paid space, it's a paid time, and you find it happening at least 2 to 3 dozen times in a day, not just in one channel, maybe dozens of channels. So the government is spending a lot of money to reach out to you. The basic difference, I'm sure somebody would have covered in public relations, is that when it is purely public relations, you are sharing with the media. Is up to the media to cover it as it is, or maybe selectively from what you have, the narrative you have given. In paid publicity, you can say what you want to say because you paid for it. So there are both pros and cons for public relations and paid publicity. But generally in times of crisis, when you really want the message to be concise, precise, to the point, very short, 30 seconds, 10 seconds or 1 minute, you use the paid media. And we also know that media sustains itself on the paid communication. If there's no advertising in the news channels or in the newspapers, media cannot sustain. And it is also said that media subsidizes information entertainment for an average person. But then there are other pros and cons. When you pay for something, then you have a voice, but that's for some other discourse, maybe in future. So in India, public relations at the government level is pursued at the 4 levels: village panchayats, municipalities, state governments, and central government. So let us take these one by one so that you understand what kind of tools or techniques they use to reach out to the people. PR in panchayats. So India, as you know, has more than 6 lakh villages, accounting for more than 70% of population. Panchayats are elected by the entire adult population of a village. Women occupy 33% seats, which happened in 1980s when the Panchayati Raj Act was passed, and women have also come in the forefront. And some of the states voluntarily have given 50% seats to the women. In villages, the mode of communication, as we know, is generally oral. Every village, some of you might be belonging to villages, some of you might be going to villages to meet your kith and kin. You'd find that every village has a panchayat ghar, and the panchayat head, the panchayat sarpanch, generally invites when there's an issue of health or otherwise. So they invite people from the village, and village is the smallest entity where almost if everybody, one person from every household comes, they can all get into that panchayat ghar, and the sarpanch can talk to them, get the feedback. If there's anything which is to be told them to carry on with or to accept, so it's the sarpanch or the panch who does the oral communication. And many years ago, it was decided that most of the panchayats would be now connected with the net, and the UPA government has promised to connect all the panchayats with the computers and the internet, and also the NDA government. I mean, all the governments have been doing it. I recall I was doing a research study in Rajasthan, and I saw a very interesting live communication by the health minister of Rajasthan with not only the panchayat heads but also ASHA workers, because the issue was arresting malnourishment among the very small children, young children, and the health minister was talking to them directly. And interestingly, he also knew some ASHA workers, and he was asking how do they know that the child is malnourished, and what kind of processes is taken, how do they identify it. It's very interesting. But I'm sure it was at a panchayat ghar where he was interacting with them. But I now understand many state governments have even given mobile phones to ASHA workers, and they are in touch with the people, the state hospitals, etc., so that they can not only get a feedback, they also share with them how the health issues are going on. PR in municipalities, another tier 2. So municipal corporations operate in cities, as you know, and towns. They are in charge of local self-government functions. There are about 1,800 municipal councils and 50 municipal corporations in the country. Not all these outfits have formal PR departments, but they do a lot of communication work. One finds information on education campaigns and by municipal corporations from time to time on various themes like health, hygiene, sanitation. I'm sure just before the monsoons, You would have seen ads coming in the TV, radio, and also newspaper telling you to be very careful about the mosquitoes, and sometimes you find even the chief ministers participating there, telling that how not to see that water is clean from your coolers, and then when the people from municipal corporation come, you allow them to see, inspect for themselves. And just before the summers, the kind of diseases one gets in summers, there's information about it. When the winter set in, there's information about it. So municipal corporations generally handle for a particular city in their municipal corporation area. Then public relations, state government. State governments constitute the third level of governance. There are 36 states and union territories in India. All these state governments and union territories have a PR setup, and generally it is headed by the Directorate of Public Relations, and they have information PR officers, also the district level. So the basic function of state PR is to create a bridge between the government and the public. They use various kinds of media, including folk media, to reach out to the public. They even go up to the village level, and it can be, again, as we spoke in the beginning, proactive public relations. They tell about their welfare states. The state governments also get elected every 5 years, so obviously they have to keep a stock of what they're doing, what the promises were made, and what welfare activities they are doing. And also, in case of crisis situation, what kind of rehabilitation work they're undertaking. So it's a continuous surge of information between the government and the people per se. But let me do the central government, then I'll tell you the critical part of state and the central government public relations. So PR in central government, the central government constitutes the fourth and the most important level of governance. PR here in most parts is handled by the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. In fact, the Ministry of INB, as it's called, is probably one of the largest anywhere in the world, which has its footprints almost in the entire length and breadth of the country until the district level. And the district information officers handle up to the village level. Is a complete sieve of network of information through the various departments of the Ministry of Information Broadcasting, and there are public. There's a press information bureau handles the public relations. Then they have field departments. There are song and drama division now, which have been amalgamated with the Directorate of Advertising Visual Publicity. There were publication division. There are film division. There are children film society. There's so many of them, and which are spread each one with a different mandate of disseminating information. In fact, the Ministry of the Directorate of Advertising also brings out a magazine, an e-magazine, and it has on its mailing list, I think, lakhs of people. I'm sure some of you might be getting, at least I get a newsletter at a periodicity which is set by them. And also they also publish a lot of posters and other things which are sent through districts, tehsils and villages. Again, as I said, proactively they talk about the different welfare states, because very important. There may be a law, there may be a welfare scheme, but people may not know about it. So it's very important for the government to keep disseminating information about all the welfare activities it does for the people at large. So it's a continuous affair between the government and the public. Now, between the, as I said, the PR in central and state governments. Now, sometimes you have the same party in power in the central at the central government level, and also in some states. But in some states, there may not necessarily be the same party in center and the states, and that is where sometimes you find a little friction about there are central schemes and there are state schemes. And in case you've been watching media these days, especially in the election times, you find there are charges, counter charges on who is doing what. Now comes the important role of the media. Now, how does the government reach out to the people? As I said, that it can be through public relations or through the paid publicity. but media is the channel both for public relations and paid publicity. There's this love and hate kind of relationship between government and media for long. When I say media, what I mean is the news media. Now, in order to reach out to its constituencies, throughout the nook and cranny of the country, the vast population we have, government cannot do without media. Just give you a quick glimpse about the media scene in India, which is truly mind-boggling. If you look at the media scene, I don't think anywhere else in the world we have the kind of media that we have. There are more than 1 lakh newspapers and publications in this country, out of which 17,000 are mainstream newspapers. There are more than 400 news channels in this country, and we have All India Radio with so many stations all over the country, and then we have a lot of FMs, but All India Radio is the only one which dispenses news, and not the other channels are not allowed, neither the FM nor the community radio. So the monopoly of disseminating information through the news information is only through the All India Radio, which is a part of the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. Though the Supreme Court has said it many years ago that airwaves are the public property and it should be allowed, it is still not done. But then there's so much information being disseminated through various media, and the most now foremost has become these social media networks. If you look at the whole internet, if you look at, there are a lot of news media portals, and most of the newspapers have their own portals, because what you read in the newspapers you also find on the news channels, you also find on the internet. The news channels which come at the right time, the bulletins which come at the specific time, are also available on the YouTube. So there's huge proliferation of news through various kinds of media that we have. So and also the media, the government itself has its own channels of disseminating information. They have their websites, they have other things, they have their own IT cells which are very, very active. The opposition is also very active. So you find that there's a huge bombardment of information from every kind of direction, which makes me wonder whether it makes us wiser or makes us more confused. But then there's so much news to choose from. So media and government, some critics call it a cross-fertilization. Neither the media can do without government, nor the government can do without media. But they have to be on board if the public interest is in view, and they have to reach out to the people at the shortest possible time. So it's important, as I said, that if the media is on board in its watchdog function, it really helps making the democracy very, very robust. Now let's look at the role of government, PR and media. The PR and media are intertwined, each dependent on the other. Their expected functions in democracy include the following: to keep people informed of laws, enactments and development activities, that's purely public relations; to help people make conscious choice in electing the representatives. Here both public relations and media both have a role. PR, what the government wants to disseminate; media as an independent interpreter of issues and information, to provide varying perspectives that allow people to make informed decisions and draw their own conclusions. So PR from the government will be giving the government's point of view. Media also has a role to play to give various perspectives and let people take their own call. Finally, to pinpoint lapses in government functioning, that is purely the role of the news media. Whether the government likes it or not, but it's important for the media to interpret happenings in social, economic, political. When somebody is making a statement, what impact does it have, how people think about it. So all that is not probably the responsibility of the government, but of the independent media, and you see aplenty such things every day, day in and day out. So why does government PR use mass media? I mean, they can have their own channels. So mass media has a very important role to play. The social power of the media. Positive media coverage provides several possibilities. Mass media can attract and direct attention to problems. Mass media can confer status to institutions and individuals and confirm legitimacy. What appears in the media is seen as legitimate. You may like it or not, you may agree with it or not, but because it has appeared in the media, it has got the stamp of legitimacy that it has appeared. Mass media can be a channel for motivation and persuasion also. Mass media can bring to focus and maintain certain individuals, institutions, and be a vehicle of psychic rewards. Who doesn't want to see one's name and fame in the media? And you find that everyone, an elected representative or the opposition or people who are artists, who are writers, who are actors, media does give them lot of platform, a big platform to reach out to their constituencies. Media can direct, amuse, entertain, and even flatter. So mass media has a big role to play. So it cannot be wished away, whether the government, state government, or the central government, or the people who matter, or the NGOs even wish, because media gets a lot of accolades when they write positive. Media gets a lot of beating when they become very critical. I'm not saying that it's only that media are very objective. Media can be very subjective. Media are governed by, news media are governed by corporate responsibilities. Media are governed by commercial interests. Media are governed by the TRPs. So media also has a lot to answer, so that's why it's very important that there has to be a synergy between the government and the media, each one recognizing the other's role in the other's life. So what are the emerging trends? The government is getting very PR savvy. The websites of various ministries are smart and interactive. Efforts are afoot to connect all panchayats to computer and internet, as I said in the beginning. Media handling of party spokesperson border well-conceived campaigns. You've seen, that the people, they are now employing publicists and PR people to handle their campaigns even in normal times. And finally, you see the Prime Minister of India is very, very media savvy and one of the very good communicators. He uses social media to connect directly with the people. He interfaces with people through his program Mann Ki Baat, which is carried by all India radio stations and news channels. Besides, it's available digitally. So all in all, you see, just to recap the role of public relations and the role of media, that public relations in government means connecting with the people, your constituencies. So any elected government and the elected opposition also have a stake in reaching out to people on a continual basis. Both would need public relations, and media, which is a third party and independent interpreter, ideally it should be, works as a conduit between the government, the opposition, the corporate sector, the NGO sector, and the people at large. All in all, the government cannot do without public relations, but you need strategies, tactics to reach out to the people, keeping in view the public interest vis-a-vis the intent of the public. I hope it made sense. Thank you so much.